were Daisy Bates and Jonathan Kozol. Daisy Bates was an African American newspaper editor and president of the NAACP chapter in Arkansas. After the 1957 Supreme Court decision ending segregation in public schools, Bates made it her mission to ensure that African Americans were being enrolled in previously all-white schools. If these schools were not in compliance with the law, she made sure to publicly shame these schools. When the NAACP shifted their attention to the integration of black students in Arkansas, Bates was in charge of picking the lucky students that would later be known as Little Rock Nine. In her memoir, Long Shadow of Little Rock, she tells the story of the days leading up to their first day at Little Rock Central High School. Bates made sure to do everything in her power to make sure that these 9 students were allowed to receive an education at Central High. Much so that she regularly drove the students to school and worked tirelessly to ensure they were protected from violent crowds. She also advised the group and even joined the school's parent organization. While this was not the first time Bates made sure that students were allowed to enter schools, this event was one of the most impactful in her life. Although Bates was making sure to uphold federal law, this did not come easy to her, as she was often met with intimidation and threats by those who did not agree with her. However, this did not discourage her, but instead motivated her to keep integrating students into the now desegregated public school system. She would continue her life serving the black community. In 1968, Bates moved to Mitchellville, Arkansas. The majority black town was impoverished and lacked economic resources. When Bates arrived, she used her organizational skills to pull together residents and improve the community. Next, we have Jonathan Kozol. Jonathan Kozol was a Boston teacher who began his education career as a kindergarten teacher and later moved up to teach 4th grade. He began teaching at Gibson Elementary in the Boston Public Schools District, which was a school with primarily black students. Nearing almost the end of the school year, he was fired for including a Langston Hughes poem in his curriculum. This was something that was not allowed nor approved by the school district, as it was considered curriculum deviation. It was after this event in which he realized how still separate and still unequal the school system was in the United States. For the next 4 decades, Kozol continued to bring awareness and show America how disproportionate the school system is, especially in poor neighborhoods with high concentrations of minorities. Kozol emphasized the importance of fighting on behalf of the children who suffer economic, racial, and other disadvantages. So, if we have 2 out of many individuals that continuously worked for the equal integration of black students, is segregation still present today? The answer is yes. Although racial segregation in schools was put to an end as far as the law is concerned by Brown versus Board of Education, the de facto segregation still exists. This is because children are usually assigned attendance at a particular school, depending on their residence address. Residential segregation then creates educational segregation. More school budgets are often dependent on property tax revenues, so poor areas tend to have poorer schools. The biggest issue with de facto segregation is that in terms of the law, there is nothing that can be done to avoid it. Schools technically are following federal law, but this idea that these students are receiving the same level and quality of education does not exist at a level in which it would be considered equal for all. I want to end by showing a short video of Jonathan Kozol reading about the conditions of school from his book, death at an early age.
At school, she stands frozen for 15 minutes in a yard of cracked cement that overlooks a hillside on which trash has been unloaded, and at the bottom of which the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad rumbles past. In the basement, she sits upon broken or splintery seats in filthy toilets, and she's yelled at in the halls. Upstairs, when something has been stolen, she's told that she is the one who stole it, and called a liar, and forced abjectly to apologize before a teacher who has not the slightest idea in the world of who the culprit truly was. The same teacher, behind the child's back, ponders audibly with imagined compassion, what can you do with this kind of material? How can you begin to teach this kind of child?